We are excited to announce our new partnership with Sleeve, a top brand TCG accessories. Whether you are into One Piece, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, or you just have a favorite anime, this is the right place for you. And with the code HILL5 or by shopping through the link down below, you'll get 5% of your order while also supporting our channel. Big thanks to Sleeve and to all of you for supporting us. Now back to the video.
Hello guys and welcome back on the channel. Today we are here with Chalice, the #1 TCG player in Singapore and one of the top 5 players of all of Asia. He recently won the Grand Asia Open with Up Luffy, and he also claimed 4 serious victories outside of Asia, so a truly impressive record. Chalice is well known for his deck guides on top tier decks like Zoro and GP Luffy, and he offers coaching to help players take their game to the next level. So let's hear his thoughts on Emo and the current meta. So most Emo lists look pretty similar, but I wanted to ask you about some of your own choices that stand out. For example, I've seen some players use the 2k counter sub, while in your list you decided to play Shiroshi instead. So could you explain why you went in that direction?
Okay, so for Sabo, right? Okay, the card has good synergy with Imu, but issue still lies in like the fact that it's still a 2-cost card to play, and like most of the time being a 6k blocker, like it doesn't feel that good to like block with it, like just let it go when you block with it. So because of that, I think it's better if you're gonna compare like blockers, right? It's better to play like actual charm blockers like Bartolomeo or like as like an alternate 2k. I think Bartolomeo versus Sabo, like Bartolomeo is a little bit better because like it's always live compared to Sabo, where like some games you don't see enough searches or like cards that they can go through your deck to mill the cards, and you don't reach the 15 cards and trash, Sabo doesn't get discounted, and usually on your like 10 Dawn plus turns you're just playing the elders, so you don't really have the room to squeeze in like a Sabo along the way. It's only good in like early game, like early to mid game. I feel the Sabo, like maybe going up to your 10 Dawn turn, you use the Sabo on like the mid game to block attacks, play it out for cheap. But like if that's your purpose, might as well just play charm blocker like Vivi or St. Charles. I think those get the job done a little bit better. Just as Sabo has the extra utility being a 2k counter, but I think if you want to compare 2k counter like blockers, I think Bartolomeo serves the job a little bit better. Just overall utility, like it's still live regardless of whether you have like 15 cards in trash or not. That's my take on Sabo. But as for like why I'm running Shiroshi, just cause it's allows the deck to actually loop through, like let's say some games you miss like your elders, like you mill like your elders through your searches, like your 10 cost elders. You can use the Shira to like fix them back to the deck, and like Emu is a deck that actually can go through the deck quite fast. So like you can reach your like bottom stack quite fast and like get to your like the 10 cost elders that you send back with Shiroshi. I think the other utility that Shiroshi has is that it has synergy with Stussy. Cause like it's something that you can just play and sack. Yeah, and of course being a 2k counter. So like because of like these 3 reasons is why I'm running Shiroshi.
Also, I noticed that you are not running any champ blocker that you talked about. So do you feel that the deck doesn't really need that many blockers and you rather have more counters? Or do you think that these cards are simply not good enough?
Having counter and having blocker is the same value. Like most decks you see, right, the flex slots, right, that they work with is mainly like whether or not they play charm blocker, what 2k counters they run. Because most lists like run 8 to 10, some lists even run 12, some lists run 2 counter events. So like I feel that like charm blocker and like running more counter and counter events is effectively the same thing. Because like you're just using them to stay healthy anyways. Just that charm blocker, the matchups that it's good into is particularly like in the mirror. But in the mirror, the best charm blocker is definitely St. Charles, because only in the mirror then you can actually use like St. Charles efficiently, because it just costs 1 cost with the 1 cost stage. Whereas in other matchups, the St. Charles is not very good, not as efficient because it's like a 2 cost blocker, which when compared to something like 1 cost VG is a little bit harder to develop. Like I've sort of tested across the different variants, and like this is the one build that I've settled on for the time being. Cause like in terms of matchups you want to cover, like you're playing blockers to cover up like the Ace matchup and Emu matchup, whereas charm blockers kind of suck against like Green Zoro. But like against Ace, just having counter events to counter out for the early swings, and then against Emu, and doing that as well with the counter events and extra 2-way counter is effectively the same thing. in my opinion. Like, I still need to test extensively, but like in my head at least, this sounds the most correct to me. Of course, I've already tested like Vivi, I've already tested St. Charles. Vivi's issue is that sometimes the card doesn't get live when you need it to be live. And it's also like a non-5 Elders card. Sometimes miss your searches, cause when you run Vivi, you need to run like 4 copies. And like more importantly, I think, yeah, like I explained earlier, Green Zoro matchup, the charm blockers are very, very bad. And like Green Zoro can be a matchup you struggle against if they see like if like they see very strong early game. Like they see the Mihawk Zoro combo, or they see multiple like 4-core Zoro. Because generally against Green Zoro, the idea is to like stuff them. But if they see multiple 4-core Zoro, they have like 3 attackers that can attack and just active themselves at the end of the turn. So like because of that, I settled on like not running charm blockers because they don't perform that well into Green Zoro, and like just running more counters with more 2Ks with Shirahoshi and like the 4 1-cost counter event. The additional 4 1-cost plus 3K counter event is enough in my opinion. So that's why I'm not running charm blockers.
Let's move on to the matchups. The first matchup that I want to talk about is Ace. So I want to ask you, how do you usually approach this matchup? How do you manage your life? And what are the most important cards you want to see in this matchup?
As a general rule of thumb playing into Ace, like you want to just stay as healthy as possible, because even when you play into every matchup, right, you just need to understand like what is the other deck's win con against you. So like when you look at Ace, right, their win con is just to flood their board with like big bodies and end the game with Roger. Cause that's usually how they end the game like past Emu. Cause Emu has like blockers that can't die, like they can't be removed. So the only ways that they can bypass this is to have like a piercing blocker, like piercing effect like Roger, which forces the Emu to not be able to block. If not, I block and they win the game, right? So that's their win con against Emu. So knowing this, your idea against Ace is to stay very healthy as you can, so that you can play towards them, going for the Roger turn and then you being able to survive. Because typically against Ace, the game will last for a few turns. Like the game won't end in like the first like 6 turns. It might last up to like 7, 8, 9 turns maybe. Cause like they'll just be playing 10 calls every turn. They might chain text build also. Matchup tends to go a bit longer. So you want to stay as healthy as possible as you can, so that you can at least tank the Roger turn when it comes to that. So rule of thumb is against Ace, if they're only asking for 1 card, be it 1k, 2k or like 1 counter event, you want to counter out to preserve the life. Generally, like a healthy life total to stay against Ace is like 3 life. Like that's like a healthy range to try to maintain when you're playing into Ace.
Okay, so a pretty straightforward matchup. Just stay healthy and play your Elders in the late game.
Yeah,
Okay.
for the most part, a lot of matchups like in OP13 can feel like dice roll dependent. Like Emu is a deck that you can like win most matchups if you win the dice roll, regardless of whether it's like favored or unfavored. Like against your unfavored matchup, if you win dice roll, then it just feels very simple. Well, it just means you get to 10 on curve and then you just blow the guy out. But like it's when you're going first, then it gets a bit harder. So like Ace is one of those matchups where like it's quite dice roll dependent. But the margin for error for Ace is a lot higher, cause like Ace can potentially break their curve. Like, cause they tap out every turn to play a card on curve, they don't really have the window to like spin for their stuff, like search for their stuff in between like their 4-6-8 down turn. Which means that they can potentially break their curve somewhere along the line, and then that can be the window for Emu to like claw back into the game if that happens. Whereas Emu, very consistent deck, every game you can sort of do the same thing. So margin for error is a little smaller when playing Emu compared to playing Ace. But in general, that matchup can feel quite dice roll dependent, because going second is a very significant advantage. Yeah, so that's like Ace can be a dice roll matchup, but more often than not, I think in terms of consistency, Emu has a slight edge. But for sure, if I lose dice roll and the Ace starts second and he like sees perfect curve, I think those are the games that I can like accept losing.
And another question about this matchup, do you like to set up something on curve, like the rush to give minus 2k?
It depends on whether you go first or go second. If you go first, then usually how we usually call the 5 orders in the Asia scene, at least in my playgroup at least, right? They call them by their animal names. So like the minus power, we call him the horse, cause that's the form that he looks like, right? He's a horse. So usually if you are going okay, then the Mars is the bird, cause it's the one that pops and the alternate eye is a bird, so we call him the bird. So when going first, because the ace, if you go first, ace will be playing an even curve. So that if you play the bird, right, you can't pop any of their stuff. Cause usually on 6 they'll play like a 6-cost character. You can blow up the Mako on 4, sure, but that means you need to commit 2 cards to make them pop a card and let them draw 3 cards or 2 cards. Feels a bit bad. So usually when you're going first curve against ace, setting up the horse is better. Whereas if you're going second, bird is good cause bird will pop the Yamato or like the Mako on the board. Yeah. It's just that going second, bird is better, going first, horse is better. Most of the time, horse is better because it's technically still removal if you just minus something and trade into it. Because they're not going to commit like 4 cards to protect a 6k body. And it's free. So horse is most of the time better because like you don't need to discard a card to pop something. You can just swing over the stuff. I think another important card that I have never mentioned is Stussy. Yeah, Stussy is more so for like the ace matchup. Or like just the big matchups in the meta game currently, there are quite a few. So Ace is one of them, Roger another one. Even the mirror sometimes the Stussy can come in clutch. If the guy goes like first and then they play 10-cost Elder and just leave it there on 9 Dawn, you can just Stussy and blow it up and that will kill like their entire turn for them. So like quite a bit of application, especially into Ace. If you see going first curve and you see Stussy, you can use it to blow up their first 10-cost Whitebeard that gets played on like their 8 Dawn turn with the 8-cost spell. Yeah. Just to see sort of for that. Well, if you can get off that tempo swing, got ace is a deck that typically only plays like 1 big body a turn. Getting off that tempo swing is usually enough for you to win the game. But issue is to see is that you need to see it on curve. So like if you don't see it on curve, the card can become dead like later on. But yeah, to see is important for ace matchup. Like seeing it on curve really helps you to edge out even when you're going first. But going second, with or without Stussy, you should be able to still win the matchup. Just there for the ace matchup in case you lose a dice roll, and then the guy sees 8-cost spell into 10-cost blocker Whitebeard. If you have Stussy, it's a good answer to that. Yeah.
The next matchup I want to talk about is the Green Zoro matchup.
Yeah.
With the new OP13 support, Zoro looks much more dangerous. But do you think that the matchup is favorable for him? And as you said, you prefer to starve. So if I can ask you why?
Okay, generally you want to starve against Green Zoro because how you win this matchup is you just get to your 10 and then you grind them out with the like advantage generation and like just contesting cards from their hand. Because if you hit them, you give them cards, then that will allow them to like protect their board and then just continue snowballing the lead. Because Zoro will always be ahead because they have their ability to now flood the board very reliably now. With cards like the 6-cost Law as well as now with the 3-cost Mihawk plus 4-cost Zoro package. I think I don't want to go into too much detail about like what are the intricacies of the matchup because I think that is better covered in a guide. But like how you approach Green Zoro matchup is very different from how you approach like a normal game of One Piece against any other deck. Yeah. But in general against Green Zoro, I do want to starve them to prevent them from like getting resources to protect their board. But that can also be prevented if like they see multiple copy of 4-cost Zoro like I mentioned before. Like if they see multiple 4-cost Zoro, then I think the game plan has to shift to you attacking them because you can't be starving them but then you are not contesting anything on their board because their board active every turn. Yeah, you look like an idiot if you do that. So depending on what the game state looks to be against Green Zoro, you have to change up your playstyle accordingly. But generally you do want to starve them. And like this matchup I don't feel is favored. I feel it's a little bit of a flip. Cause like if I go second, this matchup is like complete walk in the park. Cause Emu curve going second, reach the elders on 10 Dawn, usually it's just GG from there if you're like relatively healthy at like 2 or 3 life. But going first can be tough cause you need to delay your 10 elder turn by 1 turn. Cause you only can play on the turn 6. So you need to tank 1 more turn of the Zoro aggression, which can be quite hard based on like just doing card counting, right? If they see a good enough start, right, and just constantly poke you, right? If every turn I'm only drawing like 1 card and I have forced to throw like 3 cards, I'm gonna die eventually. So that matchup can feel like a flip because it comes down to dice throw in my opinion. I think it's a dice throw matchup. But the Zoro is hard to open perfect also. So of course they need to see like exactly the like Perona, Mihawk, Zoro into Law, Tashigi start. Yeah, it's not exactly the easiest thing to do. But if they do see that, that's the high roll potential of Green Zoro in OP13.
The last matchup I want to talk about is the mirror match. I think this is one of the most important matchup for sure. And I've seen all players choosing the one cost stage, of course, for the event that never existed.
Yeah.
In which other situation you can choose the one cost stage?
In general, like against matchups that you need to like be more flexible with your Dawn, because you want to float for counter events, taking the 7 cost stage is better, because it allows you to like play out your Elder or like your any of the smaller bodies, and then still keep Dawn up for like counter events. Whereas like decks that you just wanna like fight board or like just play like a very standard curve like the mirror, you wanna go for the one cost stage. The only matchups that you wanna set one cost stage against is like no, Purple Luffy in general. I think you want to set one cost unless you're going second. Go second, you can set the empty throne. But go first, I think you set the one cost. Then if you are fighting against Rayleigh going first, you want to set the one cost as well. Only when going second, you want to set the empty throne. Cause going second usually for Emu, you want to be able to like cheat out the elders for 3 dawn only. But whereas going first is a lot harder to do that, because you have to wait one additional turn, which might not be enough against like these more aggressive decks. Then against Mirror, you want to always set the one cost stage. Mainly just so that you can curve out and play like a little more of a mid-range game plan, but like playing the early game, setting up like these 3 cost elders on the board, and then like going for an aggressive push with the Jupiter, the 7 cost that buffs everything up to 7k. It's hard to explain, but like TLDR is like matchups you want to float down, you put 7 cost stage. Matchups you don't need to float down, you play 1 cost stage. Yeah.
And how do you usually prefer to approach the mirror match? You want to be the aggressor, or do you aim to control the board as much as you can?
It depends on whether you go first or second. Go first, you have to take initiative. Whereas go second, you just need to play until you get to your 10 dawn turn. Turn priority is different. I don't think there's like to be honest, the mirror is the only one matchup that I'm okay with winning or losing a dice show. I don't really care. Like, cause both sides have like playable like game like lines of play. So it depends. I think go first, you have to be a little bit more aggressive. Whereas going second, you just need to tank until the 10 dawn turn. And then you use the 10 dawn, use the elder, be the first one to drop elders, and then just get off a tempo swing by flooding the board with like 5 cards. Yeah. So it depends. So usually approach to the mirror differs. If you go first, I think you have to just be more aggressive. Whereas going second, you can be a little bit more reactive, like contest board, float down for counter event, tank up, stay healthy, so that you can play the 10 cost elders without being punished too hard. I think it differs, cause mirror is like quite a fundamental matchup where like depending on how the opponent play, you react in different ways. Because sometimes they don't turn their board also, then like you can't really turn into their board. Then if you turn your board, right, then they can turn back into your board. So like this mirror is fun because it's like very different like board dynamics that can happen in different games. Because based on how your opponent play, you will like just change up your game plan accordingly. But as a rule of thumb, go first is aggressor, go second is like the reactor most of the time.
Okay, and apart from the 10 cost elder, that is of course the best card in the deck, is there any K-turn that usually puts you ahead in the game?
Mirror, to be very honest, it depends on like how many copy of the Saturn you see, like the Searcher. Cause that card is like attacker that also doesn't like refunds itself. So like that allows you to cycle through your deck, look for your pieces while maintaining your card advantage, which is very important in the mirror. Like if you see multiple copy of Saturn, you can do like a very like quite disgusting curve. Like if you're going first, you play Saturn on 3, then next turn. So the key turn is like if the opponent didn't see like double searcher when they go, then they don't have like 7 cards in their trash, right? You can actually play Mars to blow up whatever elder they played. So that's like one very important like critical turn in the mirror. Like on the 5 dawn turn for the going first player, like can they use Mars to respond to whatever elder the going second player played? Because if they don't have 7 cards in trash, the elder can be removed by card abilities. So that's one of the important turns. Then I think the next most important turn is like both the turn 4s, where both players can play Jupiter and push with their board. Then that depends on like how many like Saturns they saw, right? Because if they saw multiple Saturns, they can easily build up to the Jupiter turn, where like they can curve. Let's say going first, I can actually curve like 3 into 5 into 3 into. On my 9 on turn, I play Saturn. I play the Jupiter and push with existing like 4 attackers. Most important turns I think would be the turn 4, where both players can play Jupiter to either take the board back or push life. And the And for going first player, it'll be the third turn on the 5-on turn where like they can play Mars. Whether or not they can pop something with Mars is quite an important tempo swing. Then for going second player, most important turn will be the 6-on turn where they can play like double 4 drops because they are both discounted. So they are like 3-3. Like depending on you go first or second, there are like different critical turns. I mean, obviously the most important turn is like the 10-on turn lah. I mean that's I don't think I need to explain why that is the most important turn, but like in the early junctures, those are the important turns that I'm talking about.
And then the last question, that's the same question that I have asked the two other players I interviewed. So what's one key piece of advice you will give to someone who wants to really learn this deck? Something that made a big difference and improved your win rate right away.
Emu is a very difficult deck to play. It applies a lot of different like key concepts of fundamentals in the game, like knowing how to trade, when to turn board, when to take life, when to counter, like a lot of these fundamental concepts. Then like understanding how to navigate to the 10-on turn is also very important, because like one common mistake I see people make is that they literally do nothing for the first 4 turns in the game until they get to the 10-on turn. Yeah, that's a very common mistake that people make, which is game losing, because Emu is a deck that can play like the early to mid game quite well based on like the pieces that it has. The deck literally has a little bit of everything. The deck has removal, the deck has rush with the reduction, the deck has push with Jupiter, the deck also has bodies that replace themselves. Like the deck has quite a bit going for it. So like understanding how to navigate to the 10-on elder turn is very important. So like most players don't understand this and they just like first 4 turns in the game they do like nothing. Focus on survival until getting to the 10-on turn where the deck can be playing very proactively in like the first couple of turns in the game. Because of like how difficult Emu is to play, I think you have to really understand like the One Piece card game, like at least at a base level, like the fundamentals of it. You need to be a good player to play this deck to, I think, the highest level, to be fair. Because aside from understanding how to navigate the deck to its power spike, which is a 10-on turn, right, you also need to know how to track like the cards. Understand like how to track cards that are going down the bottom of your deck. What are the exact placements of the card in your stack, so that you know exactly when you're drawing what, when to time your leader effect, when to activate mill effects. Like a lot of things that goes on when playing Emu, and also understanding like what pieces to find for particular turns as well, because Emu is a deck that you can actually run with a script. Like you can actually have certain plays that you do on certain turns, so like because of that script you just need to find those plays for those turns. So like maybe an example would be playing against Ace. If I'm going first on turn 3, I want to set up on turn 4, I want to set up the horse so that I can contest whatever like 6 cost or rester 4 cost you have on the board. Then on the 9-on turn, I want to play Jupiter and start pushing. Then obviously on 10-on onwards, I want to play for 5 elders. But if I'm going second, then if I want to try to find the bird so that I can answer whatever that they play on their 5-on turn, or blow up the existing 4 costs on their board if they have 4 costs on the board. Then on the next turn, I want to play like maybe Jupiter to start pushing with whatever I have. Like there's a script that you can run when you play against different matchups. Because Ace is a deck that play on curve, right? So you can sort of map out like what is the best play I can do to answer their curve. So like because of how Emu has a script that you can run against like different matchups, you need to understand like what pieces to find so that you can carry out the script and run it. Then obviously what's important is also like your in-game decisions, because Emu is a deck that can be very flexible with like the Dawn, because you're only cheating out, because you can cheat out the characters for like just 3 Dawn with the Empty Throne against particular matchups. So understanding how to utilize your Dawns to get value from the opponent, how much Dawn to keep up for counter events is very important also. The deck is like very high skill cap because a lot of different concepts to actually play it to perfection. So like how I can recommend people to be good at Emu is just actually to keep running games with it. Like it's not rocket science. If you just keep playing games, you'll get the gist of it. But it's not easy to like really understand like the fundamentals of One Piece. Because usually when I for me at least, when I coach people, right, some of them are still like very, like even though the game is like almost going 3 years in already, some people are still very bad at understanding like how to play the game. Like knowing when to pressure live, when to swing board, when to defend. Like a lot of people still struggle with that. And Emu is a deck that actually requires you to have like mastery over all the concepts to actually play well. Like Emu on paper is a deck that just gets to 10-on and explode, right? But how to get there is like the difficult part. Knowing how to navigate there is the tough part. If I could like link Emu to like a deck in the past that is similar to, in terms of play style, it's similar to like BY Luffy in
Yeah.
a little bit, cause like it's the navigation that's hard for the deck. Yeah, but Emu is amplified cause the deck can also like fight in the early to mid game. Whereas Luffy also can do that, but not on the same level as Emu, where Emu has so many other tools that he has access to. Like you have the Rusher reduction, then you have Jupiter that can buff Hobot and push also. So some games the deck might not even need to slam tank cost to win because of the aggression you can put out with the early to mid game bodies also. So understanding how to utilize all the different tools that Emu has is very important. And of course the deck has quite a few like different variants also. But the deck has sort of a fixed core of like 42 cards. But the 8 cards are like sort of interchangeable. Then depending on what the meta like sort of becomes, you can change accordingly. So at least right now my list is targeted towards like Green Zoro and RBAs. One thing that made a difference that improved my win rate is honestly, I was on a 1 month holiday in USA before, not really a holiday, like I went to play regionals, but like OP13 released when I flew over to USA. So that 1 month, right, I actually didn't play any like OP13. Yeah. So like what allowed me to actually sort of something click in me with Emu was that I just started playing more games in OP13 format. Whereas the jump from OP12 to OP13 for me, right, was quite huge. Cause when I first came back to Singapore and started playing games, right, the game felt completely different to me. But suddenly I play against this Green Zoro deck and this deck is going wild on me now, whereas it couldn't really do that in like just a set ago. The deck really feels quite different now. Then like Emu, how you approach against Green Zoro is like doesn't feel like a game of One Piece. So like I had to really play games to wrap my head around it. So after I run a few games, I could sort of understand like how to play Emu. But like this deck is very tiring to pilot because again in games that are going like 7, 8, 9 turns, right, you really have to understand like where the different cards in your deck are. Like where are your counter events, where are the 10 cost elders, and even sometimes you need to memorize like where are your 2k counters and where is your 6 cost rusher as well. Yeah, especially into ace matchup where like if they play tax beard, right, just a fun fact, tax beard only taxes your current board. So like rushers are quite important in that matchup because if you play the rusher, right, you can actually swing the rusher without like discarding 2 cards. So understanding the position of your rushers in the deck is also quite important so that you can play around tax beard on certain turns as well by still being able to attack without discarding cards from hand. Yeah, but a lot of the deck has a lot of intricacies. So how to improve at Emu, I think, is just to keep playing games with it. But it's hard because the deck is difficult to play. So a lot of people, like, I think, have the misconception that the deck is just tank until get to 10 Dawn turn and then play 5 Elders. But not really. It's the navigating to that part that is difficult and might not be the easiest thing that people can pick up on when they don't have guidance. Yeah, so like to touch on that, I think like one of the most important things when you're looking to improve at One Piece, right, is not just a Emu related topic, but just in general, is that you need to have like a strong playgroup, or at least have a playgroup at either a higher or same level as you, so that you can have people like exchanging constructive criticism, like feedback, like then you can work out like how to improve together, you know. So like for me at least, when I was like 1 month, when I was like 1 month away, I didn't really touch OP13 until I came back, talk about the game and then just exchange feedback with each other, then just learn from each other. So like my playgroup, at least we have this like black one trick. I think many of you know him as like, I think Julian on Twitter. Yeah, cause he was a blackbeard one trick like in the previous format. So
yeah,
like
I know him.
yeah, so like now he's one tricking Emu. So like a lot of things I just ask him and then I learn from him. Then yeah, I'll just work out from there, like what is the best lines into like different matchup. Then we just test together as well to formulate insights. So like having a playgroup is very beneficial, I feel, for like One Piece. At least trying to improve. But like obviously the next resource you have, if you can't like get access to a strong playgroup, which might not be that open to everyone, would be like definitely coaching, or like at least right now in the current scene is like written guides. I haven't really seen any written guides on my own, like when to actually purchase and buy guides from other creators, but just in general I feel that the market right now is quite saturated, where like there are quite a lot of creators that are making guides for like the different decks. So that's one way that you can get like fast forward access to information as well. at least learn like based on their tap onto their knowledge and like their intensive like their hours of testing. What do they have to share about the deck? You know, I think it's quite a valuable source of information. Whereas you're paying someone to commit their time to help you. So I think that's one way you can look at it as well. When you're looking at paid content, whereas it be coaching, classes, or even like written guides as well. A lot of different forms of like attaining knowledge in One Piece card game in the current scene. That's what I feel. So it's not that hard to get access to like top level information. Yeah, but for sure, do make sure you at least make sure the guy is like credible enough as well. Like, if the guy is like just someone you don't know or like doesn't really have much results, then you know maybe you go for someone that actually knows what he's talking about. You know.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of guides online. Be sure to pick the worst one.
Yeah, at least try to follow someone that knows his shit. I think that's the most important. Like, yeah. Sometimes I see like people make like classes guides on like decks that they don't even top with, or like they have no results on, or like the guy doesn't even have a result on. Then like, what's his authority in talking about the One Piece card game on a like?
Yeah, I think that a lot of people just tries to put out some guys to grab some money. Sometimes they're just trying sometimes.
Yeah, at least for me personally, I only do like meta. Like I'm gonna be very frank with you. I'm like a meta slave. Like I only play decks that feel good to me. Like if the deck doesn't like when I play testing or like when I'm trying to figure out what to play for a format, right? I have to get a sexy feeling with the deck. Like I have to feel good when playing the deck. If the deck doesn't feel good to me, then I'm not gonna play it. And usually for me, right, when a deck feels good to me, is like usually the tier 1. It's usually tier 1. Like I can feel it. Like there's the feeling of this deck is definitely tier 1. Then like for me, this format it was Emu. So like that's how I like usually determine like what decks I'm playing, like or at least what deck I'm maining.
Okay, that's it for today's interview with Chalice. Huge thanks to him for sharing his time and insights. Make sure to check out his guides on Zoro and GP Luffy, and if you want to improve your gameplay, don't miss his coaching session. That's all for today, and thanks for watching. Bye!